Today we're going to talk about RPE, why it's useful, what it is, and how you can use it in your own programs, so stick around. So what is RPE? RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion. That just means that it is a subjective measure of how you're performing at a given time. We use a scale from 1 to 10 to determine how difficult something is. The higher the number, the more difficult it is. A 10 RPE is a maximal set. You've got nothing left in the tank, and this type of set would fatigue you a lot as well. So there are other ways to gauge your RPE. That's why I have 3 different charts in here. One was created by Michael Toucher in chart number 1. Chart number 2, I also took from Michael Toucher, where an RPE 10 is maximal effort. You have 0. So I'm looking at chart number 2 right now. Chart number 2 also says a 9 means you could have definitely done 1 more rep. An 8 means you could have definitely done 2 more reps. And so on down the scale. You don't really use any number below a 6. Another chart that I included on here I took from Izzy Navarez, who owns Powerlifting to Win, and I thought this was a really cool way to gauge RPE, where a 10, the bar basically almost completely stops. A 9 is when the bar speed is slow, you have a grinding rep when it's very, very difficult. An 8 means there's a visible slowdown in the bar, but there's no grinding. A 7 is where there's some slowdown in the bar speed, and anything 6 or below, there's no slowdown in the bar speed. So if let's say you're filming your sets and you watch a set, that's going to give you a pretty cool indicator of how difficult maybe the set is as well. If you see yourself start to slow down on the descent or the ascent of a squat, it means maybe you're at a 7 or an 8, and you get better at gauging that over time. And if you didn't feel like your set was a perfect 8 or a perfect 9, there are 0.5s in between where you could have maybe done 2 more reps. Why would this type of system be useful? This type of system allows you to regulate how you train in a given day based on how you're performing that given day. So if you are feeling super fatigued and super beat up, and you go to an RPE 8, which means you have 2 left in the tank, that number will decrease accordingly based on how you're performing and feeling that day. However, if you feel really fresh, the number can increase accordingly. So if you're feeling really, really good that day and you can lift additional poundage, your system, the RPE system, will allow for you to do so. So how do you use RPE? When you first start out, chances are that you suck at using RPE, and you're not very good at figuring out like when you actually had 1 rep left in the tank. So if you were doing bench press with 135 pounds and you got to the end of your set and you racked it up and you thought, I had 2 left in the tank, and your next set you decided to go to failure and you did 15 reps, turns out you actually had 5 left in the tank and not 2 left in the tank. That means that you are just really inaccurate when it comes to determining how much you had left in the tank and how hard you were training at that given time. That's okay, that's just a con of the RPE system. It's subjective, it's variable, it's not perfect by any means. And this is where sometimes percentage-based programs have their pros, that's their benefits, is it's based off of a specific max number. I've attached a resource below, and in it there are 3 different charts. If you go to chart number 1, you'll see a chart created by Michael Toucher, and it basically gives you estimated percentages of what an RPE would be based on how many reps you're doing. So if I want to figure out what an RPE 8 is, I go to the left side of the chart and find the 8, and if I'm doing a set of 5, I can scroll over to the rep number 5 and you're going to see 81.1%. You can take that percentage and multiply it times your current max to get an idea as to what that number might be. So you can adjust your weights accordingly. Learning how to use the RPE system is a trial and error process. You're not going to be very good at it when you start, So kind of using a linear progression when you start, or even a percentage-based program when you start, can be really valuable because it gives you overload every single week, but then you can practice using RPE and gauging your sets every single time you get under the bar. So if you're doing a set of squats and you're doing a set of 5 on your linear program, at the end of every set you could kind of start to guess how many you had left in the tank, and you're practicing that skill for when you might utilize it later down the road. So those are several different ways that you can gauge RPE. It's a valuable tool to use in your lifting. Percentage-based programs can be really useful as well. I like to use a combination of the two, but this is a skill that I encourage that you do get better at because you can use it a lot within your training. You should not be going to failure every time that you're under the bar, or now that you know what RPE is, you shouldn't be going to RPE 10 every set that you see. Check out the resource below. I use both the percentage-based programs and RPE in a lot of my programs. So check those out at rapidfitnessonline.com. You can purchase an individualized program, which is custom to your needs, or you can purchase any of my pre-made programs on the website, or if you just sign up for the website, which is a monthly charge, you have access to all of my materials on there, and you have direct access to me and our mobile app, which you can check out at the members only tour section of our website.